Now the news. Germany. Extensive investigations have determined the master spy arrested in Bonn had taken some 700 photos of people and documents within 3 weeks. For this work, he used the latest model Minox miniature camera.
I think I may have found the one. Hello and welcome back to another analog adventure. It was recently my birthday and my better half bought me this, the Minox 35GT. Now this video is not going to be a comprehensive review of this camera, more of a thoughts on first impressions video. But I'll say this, on those first impressions, the potential that this camera has just completely blew me away. I've only put one roll of film through this camera, so I'm a bit of a novice with this thing, but I got some surprisingly good images to show you. As I said in the beginning of the video, I think I may have found the one. What I mean is that I've had this hole that I've been trying to fill for quite some time now. That hole being a camera that is small, light, and doesn't draw too much attention. Something perfect for clandestine street photography. I don't mind being noticed when I'm taking photographs on the street, but only after I've made the image. I generally like to capture those moments just before the subject notices that I'm taking a photograph of them. So the Minox, the Minox 35GT has just catapulted itself into front runner position of my daily driver street photography camera leaderboard, which I just made up then. With that out the way, let's first talk about some of the specs, features, and some of the history behind this little great imaging device. The first product to carry the Minox name was a subminiature camera. It was conceived in 1922 and then finally invented and produced in 1936 by a German named Walter Zapp. Walter Zapp originally envisioned the Minox to be a camera for everyone, requiring little photographic knowledge to use. From the beginning, the Minox also gained wide notoriety as a spy camera. The Minox 35GT was introduced in 1981 and continued Minox's successful range of 35mm compact cameras, reputedly the smallest full-frame 35mm cameras ever made. This title may now have been taken by the Olympus XA, although with the lens fully retracted, the 35GT still seems to be the smallest. Here in Wales, travel restrictions were lifted quite recently, which means we're able to go somewhere other than Newport to test this little baby out. So we decided to go to Monmouth and the banks of the River Severn. As always, let me know if you have any favourite images and any other thoughts about the camera or something I could improve, let me know. Cheers. For me, the steepest learning curve was focusing. The 35GT uses a guess focusing system, whereby users estimate the distance to the subject and set the focusing ring to the correct distance. I haven't really tried this focusing system before and I'm not very good at judging distance, so I bought this vintage shoe mount rangefinder. It was really helpful, although I shot almost every image at f8 to help combat missing focus. Well, here's hoping that that came off. Overall, the automatic exposure system does a brilliant job, almost always nailing the correct exposure. Sometimes it does miss, as shown here in this image of the butchers, so the angle of composition is important. I'm not too worried though, it was pretty dark inside the shop and bright outside. It's just a shame because the butcher looked just as I made that image. So something quite strange happened here. I did shoot 2 frames on this bridge, but I set my film to be delivered by an external developer because I can't develop at home at the moment, and these frames just didn't show up. They just didn't come back with the scans. I don't know what happened to them. They've been lost forever. Anyway, it was time to head to the banks of the River Severn. Yep, that's it. That is the film finished. Cool. So after first use, what do I think? Let's go through some pros and cons. The first thing is the battery. The Minox 35GT usually takes a PX27. Is it PX27? Yeah, PX27, which is a mercury oxide battery. These are not produced anymore for obvious reasons, so the alternative is to use an LR44. More accurately, 4 LR44s, which seems to work well, but apparently the power decreases over time, which leads to a voltage problem, which leads to a shutter speed meter problem, as far as I'm aware. So far though, after one use, I had no problems whatsoever, seemed to work fine. Another con, although I'm not really sure if I can call it a con, is the focusing system. It's a steep learning curve, or at least it was for me, because I've never really done guest focusing before, which is why I used the rangefinder. However, when you shoot at f8 like I did for 99.9% of the shots for this role, it's really no issue. Yeah, the focusing, especially for street photography, you have to take your time focusing. So if you want to capture moments that are passing you by extremely quickly, this might not be the camera for that sort of street photography. But on the other hand, if you're using the fishing technique and you're waiting for the subject to come into your frame, then this will work really well. The final con is, I did read online somewhere that if this breaks in any way, it's really hard to replace parts because of the rarity, so that's just something to bear in mind. This camera costs £70, so it's not exactly cheap. It's not too expensive either, really. Less than £100 is decent, but for a camera you might not be able to repair, for some people that's going to be an issue. Pros. So pros, and we'll start with the obvious one, which is its size and weight. It's extremely small, extremely compact. It will fit into a pocket. It can even fit into a jeans pocket if you don't have a case on. I got the case that came with it, which is really nice, leather case, but it weighs only 200 grams with the batteries as well, so extremely light, extremely easy to use. You can just have this in your hand all day and you're not going to get fatigued. Another pro is the image quality. This camera is just, it just blew me away. Coupled with the size and weight, it just is outstanding. Outstanding performance from such a small camera. The lens is clearly fantastic, and I'm excited to use it more. Another pro is the auto exposure system. I think it works fantastically most of the time. I haven't tried it at night, which is something I really want to do because I have read online that this thing really handles night shooting quite well. So I may do a video just on night photography with this thing, we'll see. Final pro is this is just such a fun camera to use. I don't think I've ever had so much fun with the camera. I mean, the double advanced film lever, the flippy lens that goes back, just everything is really quite quirky and cool. To conclude, as I'm sure you're already aware, I'm really excited about using this camera. None of the images I took today are going to win any awards, but it was a test roll. So I'm really hoping that I can maybe start a project with this thing, or it's inspired me. I sense a very special relationship forming, and I expect this to become my primary street photography film camera. As for my favourite image of the roll, apart from the portraits of Quebec, it has to be the one with the blue signs, which you might find unusual. There's just something about the colour rendition, the sharpness, the overall atmosphere reminds me of something quite Wes Anderson-esque, if I can stretch it that far. But, you know, other images I like are the street portrait of the young skaters, thanks for being good sports lads, and the landscape of the Severn Bridge, which connects Wales and England. I really like that as well. In the next video, I'm going to go digital for a change. It's an idea I've had for a while, and it's something that's going to be quite uncomfortable for me, to be honest with you. But yeah, look out for that sometime in the next week. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.